national pastime. I'm Nash.
I'm Aaron.
And welcome back to another episode of our podcast here that has a name and everything. Let me just pull out these notes from my pocket here that I've been taking. Things to talk about. Hang on, what is this? Wait, I think I'm missing one.
Oh, I got like 3 pages of notes.
I do. I got a bunch. They're not super well organized. Oh wait, hang on. What is this? Oh, this is. I just talked to. This is unrelated. Well, it's kind of related in that this is kind of how I live my life. So I'm working an odd job right now where I answer the phones at a certain place, and I am to do nothing but my job. But then people wanna talk sometimes. And this guy was like, "Hey, did you do anything exciting last weekend?" And I was like, "Well, let me tell you about my life." So I rambled some stuff off, and he's like, "Here's what you need to do. Drive up to..." What did he say? He lives in Ohio, this guy. Apparently there's some world-famous ferry boat to a place called, like, Putin Point or Island or something like that. It's supposed to be world-famous. You can take a jet ferry there, if you feel like. Or if you want a bicycle or have a car, you take the regular Miller ferry. He's very specific, though, because he was like, this place is the type of place that you'll talk about for the rest of your life if you go there. Trip of a lifetime. And I was like, well, bold words, since you're talking to me, but yeah. Challenge accepted. And he was like, yeah, they've got, supposedly, I don't know if this is some local talk or what, but he says they've got this place called the Beer Barrel, which is supposed to be the biggest indoor bar in the world. Have you guys heard of this?
No, I have not.
Well, I have now, just from earlier today. But I don't know if that's true, but he says that this place is like a permanent spring break all the time. Just raucous. Forever. So he's speaking my language.
Google it, Ben. Google the Beer Barrel in what city? Ohio?
I don't know. Some island, maybe? I didn't know Ohio had any islands. I guess there's the lakes. There's a bunch of Great Lakes around there.
Is the
Beer Barrel Pizza and Grill?
Yeah, is it that?
I don't know.
It only got 4 stars.
Is it huge? Out of how many stars?
5.
4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, this is in, it's not an island.
There is some water. Yeah, what's the island called? Peel Island. Yeah, that might be it. Because I thought he said Putin.
So it's this one. There's a few beer barrels.
It's got to be the one on that island. Anyway, he says it's amazing, and he specifically told me to bring cool, young, energetic friends. So he was very specific.
Is he the owner?
He was definitely shilling this island, and then he was like, also, Cedar Point is 9 years in a row the best amusement park in the world, which I don't know if that's true either, but I do like a good amusement park.
So Cedar, it's been a long time since I've been to Cedar Point.
Yeah.
But I do remember it's a great amusement park if you like roller coasters.
It's pretty rad. I do love a good roller coaster.
Like they have really good roller coasters and a lot of them.
Excellent. Well, there was just in the news yesterday, some kid, like a 10-year-old kid, flew off of a water slide, like one of those. It had like a 50-foot drop or something ridiculous, and he just flew off of it, hit the concrete. He didn't die. He went to the hospital, but he's all right. But probably the PTSD you're gonna get from flying off a water slide.
It's like I'm never going down a slide again.
Yeah, I don't want my theme park experience to be ruined forever. But yeah, so that's a note here, and then someone else recommended another odd job to me, so I wrote that down. So that's unrelated to our podcast, but semi-related since it involves me. On to these other pages here.
So we get to the meat.
The meat, yeah. This page here is actually just fuel for an extended rant that I might go on later, so it's not necessarily related to this episode, but
it's just a preview.
It's stuff that I'm gathering here. Here we go. What is this? All right. Let's see. Oh, all right. Sponsor for this episode. This episode is brought to you by time. The illusion we all agree on in order to function as a cohesive society. Time. Because time is completely relative. It's actually a man-made construct because it's only a measure of the changing of things. And things change at different rates depending on what's going on. So it's a completely relative thing that we all have to kind of agree on, to get places on time. To work jobs or
to have any kind of point of reference.
That's true. Also, points of reference. Yeah. Like for me, who's frequently voluntarily unemployed, days are meaningless. Every day is a weekend, and every time
I've been there.
Party time. Yeah, who cares? Who cares what time it is? Yeah, and I don't have a TV, so I don't need to worry about missing a show. Like everything is just, who cares? But that's just me. So this episode is brought to you by Time. If you have to have time, have a good time. Time. Let's see here. Notes from the man, question mark, right before we started recording. Turns out the man is going to or coming back from Hawaii. So he's currently, even though he's like producing this show, he's on a backlog of quite a few episodes. So by the time he gets back and gets functional, he's going to have to Netflix binge this podcast that he's supposed to be producing. So he's going to spend like an entire day just listening to this. So congratulations. Day well spent, the man, whenever it is you finally hear this. Let's see. News. Relevant things in the news. Remember, I think it was last episode we were talking about if you're going to kill yourself, do so, I guess, responsibly.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't make a mess.
Don't make a mess. Yeah, you know, be considerate to others. So, Alaska, recently. Did you hear about this? This guy in Alaska tried to kill himself with a bullet to the head. Not surprising. Alaska has one of the highest suicide rates.
Mm-hmm.
Is that per capita?
There's lots of reason. It must be per capita, because it's certainly not per square meter, because there's like one person per...
So Alaska's very sparsely populated.
Yeah.
It's pretty concentrated.
Yeah. This was in Anchorage, so Cal Surprise. But, yeah, probably Point Barrow up north and probably like Anchorage and Juneau probably have pretty high suicide rates. I know the state as a whole does, though. Spending a lot of time there, I get it. Depending on what job you're working or not working. So this guy was like, well, I'm going to kill myself. So he puts a gun to his head, but then his girlfriend comes in, and his girlfriend's like, no, don't kill yourself. And he's like, I'm going to do it. So he goes to kill himself, and the girlfriend's trying to like wrestle the gun away from him. And then he's like, kablam, and shoots himself in the brain. But the bullet flies through his brain and kills his girlfriend, and he is fine. So he was in trial the other day for murder.
It's like, well,
or manslaughter, and he had to wear
he felt like killing himself before.
Right.
Just did nothing to help.
Yeah, and so apparently they were a very happy couple. He just wanted to die, but didn't wish her any ill will. And so he had to go to trial for murdering his girlfriend on accident. And he wore a helmet because there was like an entry wound and exit wound on his head and his brain. But he was, for all intents and purposes, fine. And he was like, hey, I don't have a job. I declined a lawyer. I don't have any money. Just try to kill myself.
It's like, I plead guilty and seek the death penalty.
Accidentally killed my girlfriend. Like, can we please just decide if I'm guilty or not? Like, I'm just going to kill myself if I get to prison. So yeah, now they're trying to put him in prison. It's going to cost the taxpayers so much money. All this poor guy wants to do is die, and now he's got even more reasons to die. This poor fellow. It's
I said I am totally for voluntary euthanasia.
Yeah, I mean it's very sad. Also, this whole episode might be a little bit on the macabre side. All these things seem to be vaguely related to being dead. But in everything there exists an element of fun. So recently, some Sherpas went up to go on Mount Everest, to go, since that seems to be a point of topic on this show for some reason. Everest keeps coming up. I mean, I keep bringing it up, but it keeps coming up in the news more than I, feel like it should. But some Sherpas went up to go drag down the body of a super famous climber who died up there, like a world-renowned, I think he was a Swiss guy, died up there like a week or two ago. So they went up to go get his body down. To try to drag it down low enough that they could get a helicopter to like fly it the rest of the way. And supposedly, as they were going up, they found a tent with 4 dead bodies in it that they didn't even know was there.
Bonus.
Yeah. So, let's see. This tent was at the highest elevation camp, which is 26,247 feet. It's the final camp before you push to the top, which brings the total dead bodies this season so far to 10. But the Nepal government is contesting, saying that they don't believe that those bodies are up there, because surely someone would have known that they were missing by now, or they would have been reported by now. But, you know, it's not exactly easy to get up there and check. So everyone's just like, well, it's their word against these other people's words. But they're saying that there's 4 dead bodies up there. I would love to go and check. You know, one man's coffin is another man's treasure chest. Just kind of see what kind of stuff they left up there. And then, of course, bring closure to their families or whatever, too, also. You know, because I'm a hero. What else? Oh, yeah, so apparently the death toll is up from the average of 6 because nobody climbed in 2014 or 2015 due to a bunch of avalanches. Like an unseasonable amount of avalanches. So they had to cancel all the climbing for those 2 years. But, and I don't know about 2016, the article didn't mention it. But the Nepalese government issued free replacement climbing permits to those people that didn't get to climb for those 2 years. So more people have been climbing this year. Like a 3-year backlog of people have been climbing. Which, you know, statistically would mean more people would die. Yeah. But here's the thing that's even more interesting. Apparently, according to the article, those climbing permits normally go for $11,000. So that means my $30,000 estimate must have included Sherpas and gear as well. So that's good news. That's way less money that I'm not going to spend because I'm going to sneak on there anyway. I still can't afford 11 grand. It may as well be 11 million. But yeah, so now we have a somewhat official source from this article. For all I know, the author was completely pulling that number out of thin air. But 11 grand for the climbing permit, $11,000. What else we got? So that's it for the news. Did you do anything exciting since the last time we recorded?
Not really exciting, but I did finally manage to replace one of my license plate bulbs.
Yeah, the ongoing saga of the car and the license plate bulbs,
which still took like an hour and a half.
Yeah, give me the details. Give it to me like it's a big to do.
So the original problem was that
I remember you said there was like a thing you're supposed to unscrew or like turn counterclockwise.
The
and just
owner's
refused.
manual and the one YouTube video I could find online both say you're supposed to just take the bulb socket and rotate it counterclockwise, and it'll turn, and then it just pulls out. Well, I don't know if my car has different hardware. Like, I never changed it. But yeah, it does not rotate at all. It's one solid piece of, like, rectangular plastic.
Right.
So, then what I finally resigned myself to doing is like, okay, well, I'm going to have to basically push the whole bulb housing out. Okay.
So you went Nash-Style.
Yeah, except as I was doing that, like, you get really close to finally getting it out of there, but then it just will not come. And there's a plastic piece on the back of the car that's basically keeping it from coming out the rest of the way. Right. So then I figured, okay, looking in the back, I'm like, all right, looks like this piece is held in by these 2 bolts here. If I can undo those nuts, I can pull the plastic cover thing out, and that'll allow you to push the bulbs out. Then the problem was that, well, the bolt extends like another inch.
Right, I remember you saying that.
And so I didn't have a deep bore socket. I just had like a normal size socket, and it wouldn't fit. Well, got a deep bore socket. That allowed me to loosen it. Got one of them replaced, and then realized.
Did you have to go out and buy this thing?
No, my dad had it.
Okay.
My dad has a lot of tools. And I was over there over the holiday weekend. So anyways, got one of them replaced, but then as I'm getting ready to take off the other piece to do the other side, I realized it's not 2 bolts that's holding this in, it's actually 4. And the one on the side I got replaced, I could just undo that one, and that loosens enough that I could push it out. The other side, I would have to actually remove the lock from the trunk and the motor that operates the lock. Okay. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't trust myself to put this back together correctly and it function. So one bulb's good enough.
What is this for? Just a light for your license plate?
Yes, it's a light that illuminates the license plate, which apparently is required.
You know what I would have done? I just would have taped a flashlight to the underside of the car, and then every time it got dark, I just would have clicked the flashlight.
It sounds like being Ben was saying, just get one of those LED tap lights.
Yeah. Like
adhesive one, just stick it on there and and I just tap it before I go.
That's what I would have done. I just can't be bothered.
Well, and the thing is, I thought this was going to be an easy, because usually replacing the taillights, I've done that, and it's simple.
Story of my life. How hard could it be?
Well, replacing those, it only took 30 seconds. There's like this little panel you pop off in the trunk, and boom, right there's the access to all the bulbs, and they just pop out. This was a huge pain in the ass, though.
And so far you have one changed?
Replaced one, yeah.
Out of
2.
So you're 50% done.
Yeah. I think as far as the legal requirement, I meet it.
There you go.
So I'm probably
I
just
would
going to
stop
say,
there.
screw it. One's
there.
good enough.
What happens when that one burns out? I mean, is it...
Then
did
potentially I could be ticketed.
Did you replace it so that you will have to do all this over again?
No,
Or-
I mean it's replaced. Like it's actually like properly installed and replaced.
But I mean, did you put everything back together?
yes.
Ah, see, there's your mistake. So you're gonna have to take it apart again when it breaks again. I would have
Well,
just left everything.
I have to put it back together for it to actually stay in place. If
Ah,
I didn't, the bulb could just fall out.
tape a flashlight on there.
But yeah, but at least now I know how to do it.
It's true. But will you retain that knowledge?
Probably. I'll probably, although most likely I won't be driving that car when it comes up again.
You got a pretty
It's
nice
a-
looking car.
It looks nice for being 15 years old.
That looks real nice for being 15 years old. It's not the years; it's the mileage.
Yeah, well, it's got a decent number of miles on
what
it.
I say
Driven
about
it
people.
quite a bit.
Got that from Indiana Jones.
It's about 200,000 miles.
It's a lot of miles.
Yeah, it's been a great car. I've never really I haven't had any kind of mechanical issues with it. Cosmetically, it's kind of falling apart. The paint, like the clear coat and everything's kind of peeling off.
Oh, it's fine.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't really care anymore.
Yeah, who are you trying to impress?
I've owned the car for about 10 years, and it was about 5 years old when I bought it. And yeah, it had some minor cosmetic defects when I first got it, but it was in much better condition.
You want to try it?
What is it?
It's I'm still listening to the tale of your car. I brought a coconut milk mixed rum drink. Because
Sounds delicious.
I like all of those words. I like coconut and I like milk. I like coconut milk. I like rum and I like drinks.
I like things that are mixed.
And I like things that are mixed. Yeah, I like all these things. And unlike the previous product review we did, it was terrible. I don't want to go into a review on this. It's just a thing that was gifted to me. I thought at first, I'm not going to name the product because they haven't paid me yet. Let's just say it's a certain rum maker based on the first governor of Jamaica, whose house I pilgrimaged to pay my respects because he's given me many a lovely night. Except then the whole town erupted in a political riot and some mercenaries rolled in with AKs to put the place under martial law and I had to escape. But let's just say it's that, but instead of a regular shaped bottle, it's a cannonball coconut shaped bottle.
Yeah.
And I thought the only difference was that it was in a stupidly shaped bottle. But in fact, this is some of the highest quality coconut milk based rum I've ever had. So, if you want to sample it, feel free to drink out of this sumo wrestler's cup.
I can get a couple shot glasses.
I mean, you could if you like. If you want to catch all the diseases, then fine.
So we don't all have the super immune system you have.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, feel free if you want to help yourself, because otherwise, probably drink it all. So,
Okay.
all right, you go. Sound guy Ben's gonna go get some shot glasses. Meanwhile,
But yeah, anyways, like I said, been very happy with the car, but it's probably in the next couple of years going to be...
all right, personality profile. Let's say you've got money's not an option.
Mm-hmm.
What car do you get?
I would still, basically if it's alright, if money is no issue, specifically just for the car.
Yeah, money's no issue. Car or
but the rest of my life.
car or insurance? Yeah, it's only car related.
Okay, yeah.
It's only for the car.
That's what the stipulates. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I still have to go to work, and
You still have to go to work and everything, and you don't have to worry about the taxes on the car. Everything car related is paid for. It's just the car.
I would buy the Toyota FRS.
What's special about it? Is it a sports car?
Yes.
Okay.
So the car I currently drive is the Toyota Celica. It's a 2002. They stopped making the Celica, I believe, in 2007. And Toyota didn't really have a car to fill that niche for a long time.
The sports car niche.
Yeah, I mean they had stuff like the Supra before that, and that's getting more into like supercar range.
What's the difference between a car and a supercar? Like, it can lift more? It jumps higher?
Like supercar would be like racing.
Okay.
Not really an everyday driving kind of car.
I gotcha. No turns. It's just
yeah,
just a straight line Batmobile style
the
car.
Supra, I mean, you could definitely race it on a track, with turns.
Sure.
The Celica originated as a rally car
Okay.
back in the 70s and had a lot of success as a rally car. It used to be a rear-wheel drive. Then once they kind of pushed it more to the consumer market, it became just front wheel. But they filled the niche of being a relatively inexpensive, fun-to-drive sports car.
Right.
The FRS.
Oh, that's the one you would choose.
That's the that's the Celica is what I have.
Okay.
They don't make those anymore.
Right.
The FRS is kind of the spiritual successor to the Celica.
Yes.
It was a joint.
So that's what you would choose.
Yeah, I really like that
car.
I really like. Well, because like I said,
Money's no option. Any car.
as far as a car that I would want to drive every day, yes.
It's very practical of you. Ask me what car I would pick.
If it was a car where it's like if I didn't have to worry about anything else,
right.
It's just like I could just drive this for fun whenever I want.
Right.
It'd probably be the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4.
It's a lot of
it's a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of sights and sounds and colors.
So it's another car that out of production. I think they stopped making it in '99 or 2000.
Right.
It's another sports car. I would say probably a higher end sports car.
What was it again?
Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4.
VR4, not a 3R4.
Which I think it's 3x4.
That's a nice looking car.
Yeah.
It's very similar to your current car.
It is. Yeah. You have a
Kinda
type,
similar.
my friend.
Oh yeah, and
You have
like
a
if you
type.
look up the FRS, I mean it's a similar.
So it's all the
looking car,
same
too.
car. All right. I'll tell you the car I would get. This is personality profile here. It's kind of like when people ask you what would you do if you didn't have to work, and then that's the job you're supposed to have. You know, like if you could do anything and not have to worry about the money, what would you do? Yeah, the car that I would get if money wasn't an option was I would just get a pile of shitty disposable cars, and I would just one-way drive them everywhere and leave them all over the place. Pretty good, right? Like, you just get all these beater cars because I go do stupid stuff. I'm like, well, what happens if the car is destroyed? Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
I got another one.
It's like a $500 car. I just have a whole pile of them.
Yeah.
I just wad them up and throw them away when I'm done.
Well, I know Ben's brother Nick kind of did that for a little while. Not quite to that extent.
I mean, to the max, because, you know, like,
But he would buy cheap
right.
old cars and basically just drive it until it stops working and just get a new one.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like $1,000.
Yeah, imagine that, but to the power of Nash. You know, there's a place in Alaska where people drive cars until they wear out. That's not bad. Right?
That coconut milk rum is very tasty.
It's not bad. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was going to be like Uncle Bob's rape your mouth poison. I thought it was going to be some facsimile of coconut milk, but near as I can tell, this is actual coconut milk. Which is, it's pretty nice. If it's not, they did a great job.
They did a great job of mimicking it.
Great job of mimicking it. Yeah, I know there's actual rum in there, so they're at least 50% good, and then the rest of it they faked very well if it's not the real thing. But yeah, there's a place in Alaska where a lot of people just drive their cars till they die and they push them over a cliff. And you can like look over and just see like piles of broken
cars,
busted up cars. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I'd be like, I'm going through whatever. I'm driving the longest road in the world from Alaska to the southern tip of Chile. I'm just gonna it died. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't need to come back.
I was thinking you were going to say like, you would want like a Land Rover or something.
Or I would go the opposite end. Well, I go the Land Rover when I can get that cool Slovakian flying car that transforms from
like a helicopter to a car.
It transforms from a beat-running regular Slovakian car into a literal flying plane car. It's not quite... It's a car that turns into a plane. It's not a flying car. but it is still a car. So that would probably be it. Or, I guess, who's the... Uber? I think Uber's got a flying car they're coming out with. And it looks like a gigantic drone that people ride around in.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrifying. Like, imagine...
Like Uber is actually making a car?
Or outsourcing it to somewhere. Yeah, imagine, let me see here. It's not that. That's definitely a futuristic mock-up.
Uber is planning a flying car service.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't see the picture on there that I was shown. Just picture a drone with like 4 propellers on the top. And that's the mock-up that I saw.
Uber really seriously promises flying cars by 2020.
Yeah, which is a ridiculous thing. But also so is the Slovakian plane car. So whatever. We live in a world of weirdo, hybrid, bad idea plane cars. So I would get one of those.
Or about one of those amphibious cars.
I've seen those, but I would rather have a flying car than a car. Because every car can sink in the water. That's not special. But not every car can soar through the sky.
The amphibious cars float in the water.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And traverse in the water.
That is true. But then imagine... I don't know. Maybe I would rather have a forced landing due to environment and fuel than, like...
Getting stuck
then
out
break down in the freaking ocean or whatever, whatever bad idea I'm doing.
Yeah. I don't think they're really designed to be, like... ocean faring vessels. I think it's more like they could like drive across a lake.
I would make sure I always had extra ours.
Yeah.
Or just oars in general. I don't think amphibious vehicles come with oars. I think they assume the car can make it past the small little stream.
And I know they had those back in like the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they still have them.
Basically like a big ass Cadillac, but you would drive it into water and activate the amphibious mode, and basically it would just float, and then have like a outboard motor type thing built in, and it would just propel itself with that.
Yeah, I think they were. I think that was in one of the Bond movies.
Yeah, but it was a real thing.
Yeah,
never really caught on though.
Yeah, go figure.
For some reason,
go figure. People want to mitigate the chances of alligators jumping into their car. Yeah, I would definitely go flying car, or pile of disposable cars. Whatever lends itself better to adventure.
Opposite ends of the extreme.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, speaking of cars, what I did since the last time we recorded, I had a similar thing as you, in that there is a car in this story. So a few days back, I rode in a car, you see. So it's very similar. It's a very similar story. A few days back, you might recall, or whatever, a couple episodes ago, you might recall, a buddy of mine and I, we'd had excessive rain, so we went and quested for the largest waterfalls in the area. Well, this same guy was like, hey, man, I heard that there is an extensive cave network down pretty far south. We should go check out these caves.
So, quick offshoot. Have you ever been to Mammoth Caves in Kentucky?
Maybe.
Because that's another one that's a huge cave network.
I don't know. I think so, but I can't say for certain.
I know, like they have Mammoth Cave Park.
Right. Yeah.
And like I've been there a couple times, and it's pretty neat. But like, you don't obviously get to go through the whole thing because it's like hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Exactly. Yeah.
Caves.
Yeah. And so there's this place down. What's the southern border of this state? What state is that?
Like Alabama?
Is that right? Kentucky?
Oh, southern border of Indiana?
Yes.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Okay, yeah. So, I think this is towards the Kentucky border. I think this is maybe near the Kentucky border. I thought Kentucky was on the east.
That's Ohio.
I thought it was. I thought Kentucky was southeast.
No, it's IMOK. It's Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky.
Yeah. So
going that way.
So Kentucky and Ohio are the southeast corner of Indiana.
Ohio's like to the west.
Yeah.
Ohio's
you're
to the
going
east.
This way. You're going clockwise from the left.
Sorry, Illinois is to the west.
There
Ohio's
you go.
to the east.
There you go. Anyway, yeah. So down there's this place called Marengo Caves. So my buddy was like, "Let's go to these caves." But both of our cars, well, I don't have a car, but I've one that I borrow, and his car is it's constantly in danger of having the wheel fly off. So he's like, "We need another guy." So this buddy of mine is a pretty regular guy. He just got his bachelor's degree in anthropology with a focus on archaeology. But despite that, he's not like super adventurous. He's a very normal person. So like, you know how you have that voice in your head that's like, you get an idea and you're like, oh well, that's a bad idea. Like, I don't have that, but he does because he's a normal guy.
Yeah.
But he's got a crap car, but he's the one that wanted to go. And I was like, all right, yeah. And he's also the one that I went to the falls with, the waterfalls. I'm like, all right, we got to find other guys. So we got our third friend, who is a big bodybuilder guy. He looks like an Adonis, but he's got the bones of a 150-year-old man. Like, you would never guess that he's so fragile. And he doesn't care. He just wants to look good, and he does. But we got him. We roped him in. And we were like, hey, let's go to the Marengo Caves. Because he's got a real job. He's got like a career job. And he often has to work on weekends and weekdays and pretty much all the days and times. But he had this off. So we were like, yeah, let's do it. It's a sign. Let's go. So we went down to these Marengo Caves. And I packed all my spelunking gear, man. I've got like headlamps and like special boots and like...
Have you ever done any like underwater cave diving?
Yes.
Ooh.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
It's very terrifying. I mean, it's cool, but like it's bothersome.
I know that it's very dangerous.
Yeah, I have.
Because it's very easy to lose your way.
Yeah, it's easy to lose your way in any sort of cave and in any underwater situation.
Yeah.
And then when you combine those two, you're like, yeah, probably gonna die in here. But I haven't died yet. It's coming up, I'm sure. But because of things like this that I'm about to describe. But so we get down to the caves and he's like, well, we better hurry. Because it's like a several hour drive. It's way down there. And we're driving. He's like, oh, we gotta hurry. The caves close at like 5 p.m. And I was like, what do you mean close?
Like they seal it off with a giant
boulder.
boulder.
Like, if only we got here. We have to wait for the rising sun for the giant Rube Goldberg machine to activate and move this boulder again. Big water wheel. The tide rolls in and moves the water wheel, and the boulder moves. Like, I'm glad it's the solstice. We'll have an extra 2 hours.
That's how caves work, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm no geologist, but I'm pretty sure that's how caves work. No, so he's like, yeah, it's like a national landmark. So it's, they have like, you can't just go in. They have like guides and stuff. And I was like, man! Like, so it's a couple miles of cave network that's like carefully mapped and monitored and lit. So I didn't need any of my spelunking gear at all, because it's just like a tour. Tours are fine. I like educational tours, but I also like my own adventures. So I was like, fine, well, we're here, and this is a place I've never been, so let's explore via the tour a couple miles of these caves. And so we did, and it was rad. It was super rad. But during the tour, I asked the lady who was giving this part of the tour, I was like, hey, this is a pretty extensive cave network here. There's probably at least one other cave somewhere close by.
Like another entrance. Or exit,
or like,
rather.
Well, yeah, no, not even another entrance or exit. Like a completely separate cave. I was like, there must be... This is unlikely to be an isolated couple miles worth of cave. There must be another thing. And she's like, well, there is the Devil's Cave. And I was like, what's that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, are there any caves that's not like a national park? There must be some kind of cave that's like not been all touristy-ified. She was like, well, there is the Devil's Cave. And I was like, what is that? What's the Devil's Cave? And she's like, oh, well, not too far from here is a cave where you're not allowed to go. It's illegal to go in. It's on private property, but a bunch of cultists used to worship in there and perform all kinds of sacrifices. And it's like no one goes in because it's not allowed for one, and also who would want to? And I was like, tell me where this cave is. And you could just see the look on my buddy's face. They're like, oh, here we go, son of a bitch. Like, we're gonna get roped into another Nash thing.
We're gonna go to the haunted cult cave.
Yeah. And she was like, well, I can't tell you where that is, and I'm not even sure, like, how to tell you where to find it. I'm like, all right, if I showed you a map, could you point it out? And she's like, no, I couldn't. Like, all right, well, somebody here knows where it is, and I'm going to find it. So, towards the end of all of our tours and stuff, I went to the front desk of the, like, guest check-in for the caves or whatever, after plastering my blog sticker on a bunch of things obnoxiously. And then I was like, hey, is there a map of the area? This lady was like, well, we got this map. I was like, no, I need a more detailed map of this area. And she's like, what are you looking for? And I was like, the Devil's Cave. And she was like, gasp! Yeah. And I was like, can you give me directions there? And she's like, I'm not supposed to tell anyone how to get there because you're not allowed to go in. It's illegal. It's on private property. And I was like, well, I'm going, so you can just save me the time of hunting for it. And she was like, all right, fine. I'll give you directions. But you didn't hear it from me. And I was like, all right. So she gives me these directions. And I'm like, so have you ever been in? What's it like? And she's like, she looks at me with like the most incredulous look of surprise and disgust.
Like, why would I want to go in there?
Yeah, she was like, no, you're not allowed to go in. Why would I ever go in? I'm a good citizen. And I was like, well, okay, well, whatever you're implying, I'm off to this cave. So me and my buddies tracked down this cave, and it's on private property. And it's right off a main road, if you could call this part. I don't know. It's like one of those small towns. There really is no main road. It's off of the road. It's off of the road. And on one side of the road is the sort of entrance to the Devil's Cave, and on the other side is this driveway that leads into the woods to kind of like a Resident Evil mansion looking thing. And I was like, well, this bodes ill on both accounts. But we needed to find a place to stash my buddy's car, because there's no real good place to hide it, and everything's like private property. And so I picked out the best spot that I could muster, and he's like, man, if anything happens to this car, this is on you to get it back. I'm like, I know, because it wouldn't have been the first time, is the thing. So it's just like two guys that it's just like, how do we get roped into this? And so I'm like, yeah, time to gear up. So I get my Nazi-killing World War II monster knife, and I get my headlamp and my camera, and I'm just like ready. I'm like, here we go, spelunking in the Devil's Cave. So we get up there, and it's so classic, man. Like, mist is rolling out of the entrance, billowing out as all of a sudden thunder starts to, like, crack from the heavens. And I was planning to videotape the whole thing and put it on my blog. So I got like footage of the outside of the cave with just like thunder rolling. Like, yeah, what's just fine. What could possibly go wrong? And these two idiots, for being as like normal people as they are, I guess this is why horror movies are things. Because when I watch horror movies, I'm like, well, who would ever do that? These people are idiots, clearly outliers. So my buddies climb into the cave, and immediately they just go running off by themselves in opposite directions. Like, there's like a million paths in this cave. It's so big. I vastly underestimated how big this cave is. It's days big. Like, it needs I need to majorly plan an entire expedition to sort this cave out.
So you need to, have a line.
So
you can find your way back.
Right. So we were only in there for a couple of hours, but the second they get in there, they just sprint off in like opposite directions down opposite paths, and I don't know where anybody is. Like, oh, great. Like, there could be cultists in here still. You got the people eaters across the street who might come over. Yeah. Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. And then there's a private quarry on the east. I think it's the east. I don't know. One side of the cave is owned by a quarry company. We got a sound guy Ben researching the Devil's Mountain cult here. He's pulling up stuff. It's definitely freaky inside. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway,
Consider yourself
warned. Yeah.
The site is still under criminal trespassing law jurisdiction of Indiana, which at the least will get you ticketed if you're caught in the cave quarry system themselves.
Yeah, so it's as I said, it's illegal to go in, and we had to stash the car. So my buddies only wanted to be in there for a couple hours because they were worried about the car. Rightly so. I have screwed people's cars over in the past and had them like towed away or vandalized or whatever. Also. This cave goes on for ages and ages and ages, and the deeper you go, like, the air stops circulating, and your lights don't work anymore because the air is just so thick with floating stagnant dust that the lights hit all the dust particles, and you can't see anything. All you see is like dust.
It's like driving in heavy snow. Or
Yeah, it's like driving in super heavy snow, but also you're breathing it, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm definitely getting tomb lung. But just all kinds. So I was in there to treasure hunt and find some. That I'm still sure there's treasure in there. But anyway, we walked around, hiked around for a while, finally met up with everybody, and there's like parts where, you know, it is a cave network, like it's a huge ass thing. So there's places where like water comes from somewhere, I don't know, but it like floods different parts, and like there's like all these hidden chambers. So I'm like exploring them, like there's definitely gonna be treasure in here. I'm like, it's a beer can, son of a bitch. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff in there, but also you can tell that like a lot of vagrants have been in there, a lot of homeless people, a lot of like definitely just delinquents like spray painting some stuff in certain parts, because it's like, you know, it's big, and you can see where people have been camping out in like so many of these rooms. But we wandered around for long enough. We did find the altar. There's a huge room of, I don't know, it's really big, but they form this like giant, this like trident of paths that lead up to this room via stones, these like hallways, and then form this like giant circle, and you can see where there's fire pits on either side where the fires have been burning, and then right in the center is like a sacrificial altar.
It's like a big slab.
Yeah, it is. It's a giant slab. It's like a giant boulder. The top is flat. It's a giant slab. Someone spray painted "fuck you" on the front, which is pretty hilarious. But yeah, so we found that, and then we wound up wandering away from it, and we kept trying to find our way back, and we couldn't. Classic Shangri-La, Shambhala style, because I wanted to put my blog sticker on the top of the altar, but we couldn't get back. We kept just wandering deeper and deeper into the cave, and there were some pretty freaky like glyphs on the cave, like both chiseled in and just like spray painted, like just delinquent graffiti style. Just some stuff, you know, just some crazy stuff. And I don't know how much usable footage I got out of it, because I was recording the entire thing. But
it sounds like the lighting conditions.
But I don't have a night vision camera, or didn't then. Don't have a night vision camera. Don't even have a GoPro, which is something that someone like me should have. I keep getting told. So every time I do this, I have to like take a regular camera and like tape it to my hand as I'm trying to climb up walls and stuff. It's very inconvenient. So this was the expedition that convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that I need a night vision GoPro. I have to invest. It's totally worth it, because I'm going back to this place. Because I'm gonna raid the shit. I'm gonna raid the shit out of the Devil's Cult's cave, because there's definitely stuff in there. But I so far I'm not sure how much usable footage I got, but I got some footage. So by the time this episode goes up, by the time this episode of our podcast goes up, that video should be on my blog. On my YouTube channel. So yeah, YouTube channel, Nash-Style. Blog is nash-style.com. So I mean, you can definitely find that. It'll probably be lackluster. Yeah, Ben the Sound Guy. What's up?
Did you experience any paranormal things in the cave?
Alright, so for a second, so I'm with normal people, right? So I try to keep my weirdness to myself, because people panic. Right? So you don't want to say something that's going to trip someone up. And I mean, they're both like respectable, well put together people, but anybody under certain circumstances will buckle. So, you know, at one point we all joined up, and then we got promptly like way lost, like deep in the sauce, just completely disoriented. And we just wandered around, and then I started hearing what sounded like footsteps that weren't ours. And I was like, well, this is probably an echo, because we are in a crazy cave network. So this could be our own footsteps going forward and then bouncing around and then circling around and then coming back behind us. Could be that. But I kind of waited a while, and I was trying to like time it to be like, is this my feet? Is this our feet? Is this someone else's feet?
Like, at least it would be like consistent.
Right. And I kept hearing these footsteps that didn't sound like our footsteps. And I was like, hey, how you guys doing? They're like, yeah, we're fine. I'm like, how you doing, like, emotionally? My one buddy's like, what, you mean like in life or just now specifically? I'm like, how about just now? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine, whatever. I'm like, okay, good. Do you guys hear that? Like, I'm not trying to freak you out. Just, you hear, like, things that sound like they're not us, but that are things? And one guy was like, yeah, and then the other guy was like, no. And then there was only that, and then there was like the poison mist that kept getting thicker and thicker the deeper we got. And I wanted to ride the lightning. I wanted to go all the way to the end. Just get a canary in a cage, go back there. When the canary dies, you bail, or you get a gas mask. Classic coal miner style.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one other thing that freaked my buddy out. There was this little thing that spray painted on the wall said "Go left" because there's a bunch of like T junctions and like tri junctions and just it's huge. I can't stress enough how big the network is. So go left. So my buddy turns left with his flashlight, and on the wall immediately left is this giant, crazy, spray painted black, like shadow beast caveman monster with an axe that looks like it's going to kill you. And he jumped like 20 feet back when he saw this thing because it looks like a dude.
Yeah.
It looks like a regular dude because it's the lighting. And I jumped back, and I didn't even know why I jumped back. I just knew he jumped back, so I was like, well,
You're just reacting to his reaction.
Yeah, I was like, there's obviously a monster in here, and then I looked, and I was like, they gotcha. But other than those sounds and the poisonous ghost mist, oh, there was one other thing. There was this thing on the ground, and so my buddy has a anthropology degree with focus on archaeology, but his geology is not too bad. His geology is probably better than mine. And so when we were in there, we found this thing. This is when everyone was intent on splitting up for some dumb reason. Like they've never seen any movies ever. And they think I'm the crazy one. I was like, you guys don't need to worry about like ghosts and boogeymen. That's ridiculous. Stuff's for me to worry about. But there's one point where I passed this thing on the ground that looks like, I don't know, like, I don't know how to describe it. Imagine like if a dead body, like, you know how car batteries, when they like oxidize and they get that like, they corrode, yeah, they get the corrosion and it's just like a blossoming corrosion. Imagine a dead body on the ground that was made exclusively of that stuff. So like I found, hang on, I have a sneeze coming out. I found a pile of what looked like corrosion on the ground in the approximate shape and depth and volume of like a human body. But it was on the ground, and it was just a crazy color and construction. And I know what the hell I was looking at. Like, I still don't know what I was looking at. And I kept trying to get him to come back to look at this, and I still don't know what it was. I don't know what this was. It was like I don't know, like a super metallic mold in the shape of a person.
Some kind of like almost like geodes growing out of them? Was it like crystalline or?
No, it was like corrosion, like a heavy corrosion, just like a person-shaped, like 180 pounds of person-shaped
like
corrosion.
Been dipped in copper and then just
it was really weird, and I was just like, I don't want to jump to any conclusions because I don't even know where to jump to. Like, it's just like, what is this? And he was like already like 2 caves away. I'm like, I need help. So hopefully that shows up in my footage, so we should know pretty soon if I got any of that.
It's like, it's just some kind of crazy fungus.
Yeah, weird devil mold from Hellmars. But other than that, and the footsteps, and the death ghost spores, and the crazy like sacrificial altar and stuff, nothing too supernatural. But we're only in there for a couple hours. So next time, and there will be a next time once I get my night vision camera, I'm going in, and I'm going all in. I'm going to really raid this cave, because there's got to be something of value in there. I'm convinced.
If not value, at least interest.
That's right. If not of value, then at least of interest. At least I could get a good couple hours of footage to whittle down into like a good solid, 10-minute educational, entertaining video. So that would be...
Have you ever heard, when you're talking all about this, it reminded me of this show, I think it's on History Channel or Discovery Channel, which means it's probably 90% fake.
Which is an unfortunate but factual thing to say.
Yeah. Oak Island?
I have heard of that. Those sons of bitches. Yeah. I had been planning to raid that island for like 6 years, and then that show came out, and I'll never be able to get there now.
So it is an actual place, and there is actual history behind it.
And they keep finding actual stuff.
Yeah.
But they just can't seal the deal.
Because the problem is it keeps, I guess, there's all these channels, because it's a pretty small island.
Right.
and there's all these channels. Basically, there's a giant shaft
Yes.
that they're trying to find the bottom of. That they've been trying to find the bottom of since like the late 1800s.
Yeah. A lot of United States presidents have dumped a lot of money into that.
I guess one of the theories
have
is
the
that
Knights Templars treasure at the bottom.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of evidence.
Well, there's all these man-made like blocks essentially.
Yeah, they're
down
like
through
steps, but also booby traps.
Yeah,
It's very classic.
But yeah, the problem is that they guess they have a lot of problems with all these like side channels that flood the shaft, and that's why several people have died.
Oh yeah. I don't know, maybe
explore.
hundreds of adventurers, explorers, and treasure hunters have died trying to get to the bottom of this. The show is called The Curse of Oak Island. Actually.
Yeah, that's it.
And actually, the curse itself, the curse is not dying to get to this treasure.
It's spending your whole life.
The curse is spending your
and
whole
all
life.
your money.
Yeah, the curse is becoming enchanted.
Yeah.
And you like ride your family to ruin and then die. You spend 30 or 40 years trying to get there. Yes.
This sounds like the plot of National Treasure, but with just a different place. They just called it a different thing.
I don't. What was National Treasure
It was
about?
a Nicolas Cage movie.
I mean, I know National Treasure. I love the movie. Just what were they after?
They were after a big
it was in Mount Rushmore, wasn't it?
Was that the second one? No, that was the second one.
It was something where, like the back of the Declaration of Independence had this like hidden map.
That was the first
like
one.
they had, there was like multiple clues that like.
Or was that the
these
second
old
one?
guys?
No, that was
left.
the first
I only
one.
ever saw the first one.
Yeah.
But there was like this whole like treasure, and like his dad was spending his whole life searching. for it.
No, that's a real thing.
And
That's
he
a real
was
thing.
like, you're wasting your life just searching for something, and it's not even there.
That's a good John Voight impression.
And and there's booby traps and stuff. It sounds like
it's a real thing.
It's very similar.
National Treasure. National
thing-
Treasure is 2 steps away from a documentary, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and I know like their whole thing was tying in like the Masonic traditions with like the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
Which I personally haven't done a lot of research on, so I don't know how the validity of that link, but I know it's something that's brought up a lot.
It is. Yeah. There are some things like I don't know. Supposedly the overlays of the original cities match the overlays for Masonic designs. And things
Well, I know if you just in DC, like the National Mall,
right?
The way it's laid out, the dimensions of a bunch of stuff, like it basically falls into all these different Masonic.
Right, supposedly. Or is this one of the cases where if you gaze at something with a preconceived idea, you see that thing? Because there's a lot.
That very well could be.
I saw a thing earlier.
I haven't researched it, so I'm just like, I'm taking the information from someone who believes it is this way.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that the information they're giving me is accurate.
I saw an article earlier today where someone was like, "What about this shape? What significance does it hold?" And up in space, an almost infinite area, there probably are several, but there's one within photographing distance, like a nebula or whatever, that makes kind of like a what do you call the at sign? What is the name of that?
At?
Maybe it's just the at sign.
I thought it had like a proper Latin
like
name.
the pinwheel nebula.
Yeah. So it had that, and they're like, "What's the significance? There's obviously design," and then they overlaid the shape of a pinwheel on top of the nebula, and then on top of Africa, and they were like, "Look, it's also kind of a pinwheel shape." Like, you know what else is? Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Seashells. Just I don't know.
The pinwheel kind of spiral kind of thing is a
it
actually occurs pretty often in nature.
It's a pretty common mathematical thing.
If you break it down, it's concentric circles.
Yes, yeah, really, and it's not a huge thing. So you don't want to make something from nothing, but you don't want to dismiss the possibility of something being something.
Well, and then
until you're sure it's ridiculous.
I personally get a lot of entertainment. I don't necessarily buy into it, but I find it entertaining.
Some things I can only be entertained so far before I get a bit of a fury. Where I'm like, you're wasting my time.
Oh no.
We could be learning.
There's some things that are just
aliens,
completely stupid, like the whole flat Earth thing.
Yeah.
But I do get some entertainment value out of conspiracy theories for
right. Yeah.
and not necessarily political conspiracies, but just like, I find it very interesting talking about like ancient civilizations, like lost civilizations,
absolutely.
things like
well,
that.
We'll get into that on our next episode, actually.
Which I know, like we kind of touched on briefly once before, but
Yeah.
like I find that stuff really interesting. I don't necessarily think it's all true,
Right.
but
You mean factual?
factual,
There
yeah.
you go.
Or at least provable.
There you go. Yeah.
A lot of it, and admittedly, a lot of the people who do this research say, it is conjecture at this point, but
Right.
there are signs that at least there's a possibility of it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I know I talked about that, I always mispronounce it, like, Guape Tepe, or whatever it is.
Are you talking about the blocks with the impossible tool etchings?
Yeah, where basically they had, they uncovered this archaeological find, like a megalith type structure, and had symbols basically embossed. In
Right.
the stone.
Yeah. They shouldn't have had the ability to create.
Right. That as old as this site is, they shouldn't have had. We, as far as we believe, they didn't have the tools required to make that kind of embossing in stone. Where they're basically carving away all the stone and have raised symbols. Then also plus like the symbols that they had in there were things that like they had like one that's clearly a scorpion.
Right.
But where the site is, like, there aren't scorpions there for like thousands of miles, and never have been.
Right.
So like obviously, it's something like knowledge that was carried from somewhere else and brought there. And they're saying that that's a possibility of that there were these other civilizations that were much older than we believe. Civilized societies were around.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that next episode. You better believe it.
Were wiped out, but not completely wiped out. There were people who still survived and carried some of this knowledge to other civilizations.
Let's see what else. What else do we have here? So we just finished talking about my weekend where I went to the Devil's Cave. Hopefully, there'll be some kind of video about that on my channel.
For this scene, that sounds
yeah.
If nothing else, at least the atmospheric entrance. To
Yeah,
the cave.
yeah, it'll be something. Something will be there. What else we got here? Public service announcement for this week. I feel like it's always good to have those. Talk, we're talking about a lot of this episode had to do with death. It was a very macabre sort of an episode. What's our timestamp right now? What are we at?
58.
58. Perfect. We're getting good at this. We're getting good at this. All right. So a lot of this episode could be dark, right? That could weigh heavy on you. So public service announcement for this episode is mind your mental health. Like not a joke. Like your actual sort of mental wellness is a huge thing. Your mind in Buddhism there's a saying that with your mind you make the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true, but it's also to a large degree factual. And
I mean, your mind completely defines your perception of reality.
Exactly. Your mind does define your perception of reality, and it is the only organ, if you want to call it an organ, that is reciprocating. So, for example, if in your mind you are perceiving, like, let's say you're dreaming, right? All of what happens in the dream is entirely generated within your own brain. For the most part. I mean, you can get external stimulus that then influences your brain. But then your brain is, responding to that and then creating this reality for you to experience in your dream. And let's say if you've ever had a night terror, anyone out there who's experienced night terrors, I get them a lot, so I can identify with this. But some people haven't, and that's fine. You don't need to have to understand the concept.
I've had nightmares, but never had night terrors.
I wouldn't wish
much more
I
intense.
wouldn't wish them on anybody.
So do you get like the body paralysis?
I get the opposite of body paralysis. So I wake up in a berserker survival rage and just start screaming and destroying stuff sometimes. Not always.
Because and I'm not sure which is worse. Because I've heard other people.
I've had the paralysis before, but every time I get the paralysis, it leads to the berserker survival rage thing, where it's like I wake up and I'm having a night terror, and then I can't move for a second, which just exacerbates what's about to happen. But I don't always jump out and start destroying things. But every time I do have a night terror, I do jump up and scream like a ferocious
bestial.
There's a very and it's that every time, and for about I don't know maybe 5 to 15 seconds, like you're still in whatever moment you thought you were in, like even though you're awake, you don't know what's going on. So it's a real weird thing, like coming to, because it's like a weird sort of whatever you thought was going on like fades away, and then reality fades
slowly
in,
starts
and
creeping
it's like,
back, and you're like, okay,
and it's
that,
like,
so that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, and there's no like when you're having a dream and you wake up. Normally, there's like that weird transition where you wake up and you're like, "Whoo, I'm awake now." There's like that I don't know half second like shut off, and then you wake up. But like when you have a night terror, there isn't that. So you're
it's a longer period before you finally start.
Very disorienting. Yeah.
I mean, like I've had dreams before where I wake up and like I think what happened in that dream has actually happened.
Right, but you don't think it's happening at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're just like, did I eat that sandwich already?
Yeah.
Or
like I'll wake up and like be pissed off at someone.
Right.
Because they disappeared that dream, and then I'm like, no, wait, they didn't actually do that. But like I wake up thinking like, man, that Adam is an asshole.
Yeah. you spend like an hour getting ready for work, and you wake up and realize you haven't done any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, I'm not ready for work at all. That's why, pro tip, just don't work. That's what I would do. But so like, so if you're having a dream, right, and then you perceive like a negative thing, like someone pisses you off in that dream. I drank it all, but you can.
I was looking to see what it was called, because it was
It's a loco nut.
Okay.
Yeah, it's loco.
Because that was very tasty.
It is very tasty. Do recommend very much so. So you're having a dream.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're having a dream, and then, like, say you start to get pissed off in the dream. You're like, oh, this guy did the thing I don't like, right? And then that negativity kind of creeps in, and then it reciprocates and circulates back around. So then everything is a little bit crappier. Mm-hmm. And then it's a very downward spiral if you let it. And that's...
It was right there for it was a feedback loop.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's its own closed feedback loop, which is crazy because if you let it go unchecked, your brain will take in stimuli while you're out in the world. And then subtly, you can start forming these... I don't want to call them opinions. I'm not really sure what to call them. But like you can start forming these charged emotions that influence the way you perceive everything else. Mm-hmm. And then because the way you perceive everything else reinforces whatever thing it is that you think is going on, even if it's subconscious, it just becomes this vicious spiral in some direction. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy that... if you leave it unchecked and just let it be, that it will do whatever it does, and it's usually negative. But if you make a conscious effort to shut down any negativity, if you can feel it coming on, because a lot of times it is subtle, but if you can feel it coming on, or consciously interject positive things into there, it becomes a feedback loop of positivity. And it's really... fascinating in that way. But that is the thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that you actually have to consciously babysit what thoughts you're having.
Right.
For even the happiest of people, if you let it, your mind will start sabotaging you, or can start sabotaging you.
And and because I frequent some of the conspiracy circles and like message boards and stuff, that like I see that in people.
Right.
Like you're just like way too deep into this.
Yeah,
and it's
you're
like
too
affecting
deep.
your worldview of everything.
Right. Yeah. And that does happen. And so a lot of times we opened this episode talking about the guy who tried to kill himself and accidentally killed his girlfriend. That's unpleasant. But suicide is one of those things that, like, unless you have an actual mental illness, like, and by actual I mean like, I don't mean that
like
there's
schizophrenia,
right?
Like
yeah,
a diagnosable,
right?
ICD-9,
right? Yeah, and I don't mean to say that. Like,
sorry, I guess DCM.
I don't mean to say that like depression is not a mental illness, an actual mental illness, because it definitely is. But there's like suicide is like the final stop on that line. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do if you see the warning signs to maybe try to avoid that, or like just it's just, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Just positive thinking sounds dumb when you call it positive thinking, but I like to think of it as awareness. Like, try to strip away to the best of your ability, because you'll never be able to truly do it, but try to strip away to the best of your ability your perception of what's going on, tinted through your own like mind's eye, and try to really see what's truly going on.
Take a more objective.
Yeah, and I mean it's tricky, but then also you can work that to your advantage, because once you get good at being neutral, you can try to be positive and spin everything positivity, get a vicious upward spiral. But just I don't know, some things that are good for your sort of mental health. You got your exercise, that's been proven. People who don't move around enough, like the body evolved.
If nothing else, it releases endorphins.
Exactly, yeah. The body evolved to move around at least a certain amount, and if you're not hitting that threshold, you're getting negative consequences. Full stop. Like there's no two ways around it. There's no magic pill or bottle of caffeine or niacin or monster drink. It's gonna
trick your body into thinking you're getting exercise.
Yeah. No amount of prostitutes and porno and booze.
Well, it depends how active you are.
Right. I mean, the icing on the cake. All those things are the icing on the cake. They're not the whole cake. You also want cake.
If you have 3-hour sex marathons, then,
yeah, it's pretty good.
You get some cardio in there.
But also, yeah, it's pretty good. But also, before you do the sex marathon, I bet that sex marathon will feel even better if when you're looking into your giant sex mirror, you're like in shape and you're like, yeah that's me. I'm doing that. You might even catch a higher class of lady or fella, or whatever you're into. Who knows? I mean,
but if you have 3-hour, 6-hour marathons and that is your form of exercise, you do that on the regular.
Not bad. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great. It's not as good as walking around, but it's better than sitting down. Let's see what else we got.
Not as good as walking around.
Yeah, it's not as good as walking around.
Not as good as walking around.
That's right. Sex is not as good as walking around for your health. But I mean, it's pretty nice. I'm not saying don't do it. I like it. 3-hour sex marathon's great. But also, walking around's better for you. That's all. I'm sorry. I don't want to burst your bubble. See, we were talking about consciously... I can't read my own writing. But yeah, banishing. Constantly banishing shit thoughts from your mind. So some shitty comes in your brain. See if it's a real shit thing, this world, it's going down. Because obviously, I mean, that's a fact. So that's not a bad thought, but your perception of that could be a big deal. And keeping a positive mental attitude keeps you from suicide. But it also just keeps you together during life's regular things. It can be the difference between making a new friend in line at the movies versus punching the guy who just cut you in the movies in the throat and then maybe going to jail. So it's just there's different things. There can be any number of what do you call it, fork in the road moments for your life, right? Where one decision could feasibly alter the entire course of the future of your life. So it's just good to try to be on the best footing you can be at any given time. Because for the most part, people are going to make bad decisions. So you want to make the best bad decision you can, right? Because you're never going to make 100% good decisions all the time. So you just want to be as prepared as you can be for the bad decisions. And then, of course, if you live a lifestyle like I do, and you're constantly spelunking into devil's caves, you need that mental health to keep yourself together when you think there's footsteps of cultists behind you, or ghostly fog people, or a moldy space body on the ground. You need to be put together, because those thoughts are going to creep in.
You need to have some mental ground.
They're coming in hot. Those thoughts are coming in hot. So you need to have your emotional immune system strong during those things. So the PSA for this episode is, mental health, work on it. Do your push-ups or squats, pull-ups. I choose pull-ups. Do your pull-ups for your physical health, pull-ups and squats. And for your mental health, do some meditation, or listen to some chill music and just lie down, take some breaths. Nothing is something worth doing. I say that as a joke sometimes, but it's also true. It is true. Just take some time out and breathe every now and again, because before you know it, you'll blink, and a decade will have gone by, and you'll be like, holy shit, things aren't what I thought they were going to be, and what am I going to do now? Mm-hmm. So yeah, just take some time out and breathe, man. Smell the flowers if you're into that. Eat a flower if you're into that. I do both. Smell and eat flowers. So that's how I roll. What else we got here? Oh yeah. Side note: smartphone addiction getting stronger. People are way addicted to their smartphones, and it's ripping their lives apart.
And also, there's been a large increase in frequency of people with neck problems.
Yeah, and thumb problems, neck and thumb problems, because of the way they tilt their head and use their thumbs when they're on their smartphones.
So
Yeah,
basically, like looking down at your phone.
Yeah,
For
extended periods
hours
of time.
per day.
Yeah,
Starts screwing up your neck.
Yeah.
So they say, like, if you must be on your smartphone, basically hold it directly in front of you.
Yeah.
And look straight on, which you'll look dumb.
You will look dumb, but here's the thing, like...
The other option is just, don't use your phone all the damn time.
Right, but that's the thing, that's where the addiction part comes in. Because smartphone addiction, this circles back to the PSA for mental health. Smartphone addiction is a real addiction. It starts out as you're just being an inconsiderate asshole when you go out with your friends, and then instead of talking to your friends or enjoying a meal with a significant other or a date or a movie or driving and focusing on driving, you're just texting the whole time. It starts out you're being an inconsiderate asshole, but then it grades up to legitimate addiction to where you can't just drive. You can't just have a meal with a person you're having a meal with. That's an actual addiction. When you try to sleep at nights, if you lie awake thinking about what's going on inside of your phone, if you're wondering about
to check your Facebook,
if you're thinking about
Facebook,
on your if you're thinking about your texts, if your phone lights up the whole room and then you wake up, that's an addiction. That's an actual. That's just coming from me, a guy who doesn't have a phone and is somewhat anti-technology. That's actually coming from like behavioral therapists and actual addiction counselors. This is a real thing, and it's on the rise. The United States is third in the world for recognized smartphone addiction, and it's causing lots of fatalities every year for driving, texting and driving. So kind of back to the mental health thing, reflect on yourself. Do you have no self-control and you're a selfish asshole and you're driving and you're bored? You're bored while you're driving, so you just want a distraction from driving? That's you being a dick. Focus on driving. Who gives a shit if you're bored? You're driving. But if it's moved beyond that point, then you should consider lifestyle changes and maybe counseling. There's nothing wrong with like a therapist or like use the buddy system or whatever. Like this is a thing that could kill you and other people.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily even a professional counselor, but just talking to someone.
Yeah, just talk to someone.
Just verbalizing
Yeah.
some thoughts or some issues you may be having can do a lot for helping you deal with it in a more healthy manner.
Yeah,
than just
absolutely.
internalizing everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a buddy who was addicted to porn when he was in college. Like, properly addicted. Like, he would be missing homework assignments and late to work and late to class because he would be watching porn. Like, that's an actual addiction. He did eventually, like, get over it, but he had to start, like, talking to people about it. You don't need to seek, like, professional therapy at first. But, if these things are working, like, this is a real problem. Don't pretend that it's not a problem. That's what alcoholics used to do before alcoholism became accepted mainstream. It's just be like, it's just a couple of drinks now and then and in the morning and when I'm driving around and performing surgery and whatever. Like, no, this is an actual problem. Stop what you're doing. It's you've taken a fun thing and you've gone too far.
It's like when you're drinking in the bathroom at work, you have a problem.
Exactly, yeah. When you're hiding booze in the toilet,
yeah.
Take a step back. And that's the thing is, like, a lot of times people can't see because they see the gradual change every day. It's so gradual, it sneaks up on them. I know how it is. It's like when you get fat or when you get lazy or whatever, when you get depressed.
You didn't suddenly get there.
Yeah, you didn't suddenly wake up wanting to kill yourself. It crept up on you and you didn't realize. But people on the outside might notice the subtle changes more than the people who, or like when people start working out, they don't see the changes right away and they're like, I don't even know if this is working. But then other people are like, man, you're looking good. You're looking real good. So it's like that. Like, if you see something in someone else, say something. You might, on the surface, be jeopardizing a friendship, maybe, if they're real sensitive about it. But if you truly care about that person, you should take that risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess that's an extension of that PSA. Anything else to add? I think that's the end of our episode for this time.
I think that's a good place to wrap up.
That's good. Man, sorry this one was so dark.
Yeah, well, no, I think we ended on. I mean, yeah, it was a little dark, but I think we ended on a positive.
Yeah, for
note.
sure, for sure. All right, any final notes before we sign off here?
Well, I would just agree with what you're saying about check your mental health. It is, I think, even more so. Well, again, I'm not that old. I'm 35, so I can't really say like, oh, even more so today than back in my day. Like it's still my day, but it just seems like there's more occurrences of people getting things like basically falling into, like you said, kind of like a spiral.
Yeah.
Of that feedback loop of having negative thoughts that then kind of influences how you see everything around you, which then influences those negative thoughts to kind of keep spiraling down and just going into this kind of like loathing and depression.
Yeah, Facebook news algorithms that filter news of the stuff that you already believe, and then less in-person social interaction. And
then also I think people who tend to have a positive outlook on life tend to be just in general nicer to people. And not necessarily people have like I think I probably have a kind of cynical view of.
Yeah, I think I might also be very cynical. We don't balance each other very well.
But I tend to always try to I always assume the best in people.
Right. All right. So you and me do balance each other out.
That I never assume someone is trying to. Now, obviously, there are times where, like, okay, there may be signs here, like, okay, this person is trying to scam you or rip me off.
Sure, yeah.
But generally, I assume that the person, if they come up with... All the time I have people, like, downtown, like, ask me for money or give me some sob story. Most of the time I assume, hey, it may be a legit problem.
See, in my mind, I'm like, there's only two types of people, idiot or asshole. Who is this guy? Is this guy an asshole? He's probably trying to scam me. Get out of my face.
They may still fall in one of those categories, definitely.
Yeah.
Like
there's all zeros and ones.
It's like it's an actual problem, but you're an idiot who caused it.
Right.
But yeah, I usually kind of give people the benefit of the doubt most of the time, and even though I kind of have like I said, kind of a negative or cynical view in the world, that I still feel I am cognizant of that.
Yeah, aware. Yeah. Self-awareness is the unexamined life is not worth living. I think was Socrates who said that, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Could have been Kurt Cobain. It wasn't. Kurt Cobain said, I would rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not. Which,
that was Bach.
Was that... that was Beck. No, that was actually Kurt Cobain, though. All right. That's a good point. All right.
So I think with that, we'll call it a wrap. So,
Panache! All right, sign off.
This is Aaron. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you next time.
And this is Nash. See you on the next time of The National Pastime.